The wind screamed across the icy mountains, carrying flakes of snow sharp enough to cut skin. The cabin door slammed open, and the cowboy stumbled inside, shivering uncontrollably. Before he could collapse, a firm hand grabbed his coat and yanked him toward the small wooden bed. The wind outside wailed like a wounded animal, battering the small hunting cabin as if trying to tear it apart. Jake staggered inside, snow clinging to his coat, lashes, and beard, his body trembling so violently his boots scraped loudly across the wooden floorboards. He tried to speak but his jaw was locked, his breath rattling as clouds of white escaped his lips. Naya moved toward him with a swiftness that startled him, her steps light but purposeful, her dark hair whipping across her face from the cold draft. She grabbed his arm before he could collapse, feeling instantly how the cold had bitten deep into his muscles. "Sit," she ordered, guiding him to the edge of the narrow bed. Jake tried to protest with a faint shake of his head, but Naya pressed a firm hand to his shoulder, pushing him down with surprising strength. The air inside the cabin was barely warmer than outside, the small fire in the stone hearth had dwindled to a few tired embers, offering almost no heat. Naya's breaths came fast, not from fear, but urgency. She had seen men freeze before. The cold could steal a life quietly, quickly, without mercy. Jake's fingers twitched like stiff claws as he tried to remove his soaked gloves, and she knelt in front of him, helping peel them away. His skin was icy, nearly blue. "If we don't sleep in the same bed, we will freeze tonight." "Don't resist," she said, her voice firm but not unkind. He looked at her through half-conscious eyes, a mix of confusion and pride flickering in the exhaustion. He managed a weak, stubborn whisper, "I'll manage," but she wasn't having it. "You are not managing anything. If you sleep alone, the cold will take you before sunrise." She moved quickly, pulling thick animal hides from a wooden chest at the foot of the bed, layering them deeply. Jake watched her hazily as she worked, his vision blurring at the edges. The storm outside roared louder, rattling the shutters, reminding them that nature did not care who lived or died tonight. When she came to his side again, he felt her warm hands on his shoulders as she eased him down fully on the bed. She slipped under the hides beside him, the sudden closeness jarring him from his fog. Her warmth pressed through his frozen layers instantly, like fire sinking into ice. She pulled his arm around her without hesitation, aligning their bodies so heat could transfer faster. Jake felt a mix of embarrassment and relief, his breath shaky as the tremors slowly softened. Naya's voice dropped to a gentle murmur. "Relax. Your muscles must warm from the inside." Her heartbeat was steady, strong, a rhythm grounding him against the storm. The scent of sage and smoke lingered in her hair, comforting in a way he didn't expect. Minutes passed like hours, the world narrowing to the warmth between them. Jake blinked heavily, feeling life slowly returning to his fingertips. Naya's grip on his hand tightened slightly, not in affection, but in determination, as if she were willing him to survive. "You saved me once," she whispered, her lips close to his ear. "Tonight, I return the favor." Outside, the blizzard raged without mercy, but inside that fragile cabin, two lives hung together by the thin thread of shared warmth, trust, and the silent promise that neither would face the night alone. Morning crept in slowly, muted and gray, as if even the sun feared crossing the frozen mountains. The cabin had grown quiet through the night, the storm eventually softening to a mournful whisper. Jake woke first, his body stiff but alive, wrapped in layers of hides and the lingering warmth of Naya beside him. For a moment, he lay still, disoriented, unsure if the night before had been a dream carved from desperation. But then he felt the gentle rise and fall of Naya's breathing, steady and calm, her head resting near his shoulder as if she had remained alert even in sleep. His hand, which she had held tightly the night before, still lay against her arm, the memory of her warmth etched into his fingertips. As he blinked away the fog of sleep, reality returned, slow, heavy, undeniable. He had nearly died. And she had saved him. He shifted slightly, but Naya's eyes opened instantly, sharp and alert like a hunter sensing movement in the dark. Her gaze softened when she saw him awake. "You survived," she murmured, her voice raspy with sleep but still carrying that grounded strength he had come to recognize. Jake managed a faint smile. "Thanks to you." She pulled herself upright, brushing her hair from her face as she wrapped a hide around her shoulders. Her gaze drifted to the window, where faint light seeped through cracks in the wooden boards. Something about the way she watched the horizon unsettled him. There was tension in her posture, a stillness that spoke of danger. "The storm hit us," she whispered. "But daylight does not." Jake frowned, pushing himself up. His muscles protested, stiff from cold and the weight of the night's ordeal. "What do you mean?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she moved silently across the room, checking the latch on the door, then walking to the window to peer outside. A moment later, she turned to him, eyes dark with warning. "Tracks," she said softly. "Fresh ones. More than one rider." Jake felt a chill unrelated to the cold. "They followed us?" Naya nodded. "Whoever hunts me does not tire easily. They are skilled. They are close." Jake stood carefully, testing his legs. His body was weak, still thawing from the night, but adrenaline stirred life back into him. He grabbed his coat and gun from the floor, but Naya stepped in front of him before he could fasten the holster. "You cannot fight them like this," she said firmly. "You can barely stand." Jake clenched his jaw. He hated the helplessness in her words, even though he knew she was right. "Then what do we do? Stay and wait?" Her eyes flickered with something like pain, but also determination. "We run," she said. "But not blindly. There is a ravine north of here, hidden by the snow. It will buy us time. If they catch us in the open, we will not see another sunrise." She began packing dried meat, flint stones, and blankets into a leather pouch with swift, practiced movements. Jake watched her, this woman who had saved him once, and now was ready to risk her own life again. "Naya," he said quietly, "why are they after you?" She froze. Her hands paused mid-motion. For the first time since he'd met her, fear, real, human fear, shadowed her eyes. "Because," she whispered, her voice trembling despite her strength, "I escaped with something they want. Something they will kill to reclaim." The wind outside began to rise again, as if the mountains themselves held their breath. And Jake realized with an unsettling certainty that last night's storm had not been the true danger. What hunted them now was far worse.